the truth about current state of collective consciousness on Earth. I believe that it's very important to speak about this now, in times of increasing restrictions, imposed policies, media manipulation, etc. It's very important for us to remember our own worthiness as individuals and also reclaim our own power. Step out of disempowered society model and step in empowered lifestyle. So I want to expand more on this today with you. The world is splitting more and more between people who remain distracted in their external focus, focusing on other people and other things, and on the other hand, there are more and more people who realize their own inner creative abilities, and they start to pay attention more to their own inner world. And I want to start by addressing, in my opinion, very good distinction. And in this context, it's a game changer. And I became familiar with this distinction a couple of years ago when I studied one of the best coaches in the world, Rich Litwin. And this distinction is reported world versus created world. Created world means you decide how to create your daily life, how to look at it, what kind of attitudes you will have towards it, towards your situations. And you invest your attention consciously, how you see world, where to focus, what not to do. It's a conscious choice and recognition that you as individual are powerful enough to make changes in your life. You matter, your perspective matters, and you are able, more than capable, to decide for yourself how to live, how to think, how to act, and what matters to you, without the need of someone else, some other external authorities to tell you how to live, what to think, what to do, what choices make. With what things identify, and so on. The list goes on. While reported world, in large part of today's mainstream media, is also created or even fabricated, it is still different by what is meant as created world in the context of this video. A reported world means you experience the world through external reporting of what's happening. News, social media, and all kinds of other information sources, including other people as well. So let's talk more about the reported world. And when people start to become dependent on the external reporting, and there develops a trust to certain information sources, it can become dangerous. Because, especially in the context of today's media, because large part of the media is clearly trying to make you doubt your own inner guidance, lessen the value and meaning of your own experiences, your own feelings, and your own ability to see and think for yourself freely and independently. It's almost like inviting masses of people to practice self-denial. And it's a war on your own common sense as well. This is a manipulation, an agenda to control people's minds on a massive scale. Such society is very amenable and advantageous for those who seek to impose strong control. And it's also like an invitation given to people to renounce their own responsibility to think for themselves and give it away to external authorities whose intentions are shady, to say the least. And reported world is consciously created to sow fear in people that triggers predictable behavior. If we want to be conscious creators, we have to start recognizing our own worth, including our perspective, our experiences, our feelings, all of it. Becoming aware of our own limiting patterns, illusionary perception towards certain areas of life as well. And while I mention media and dangerous tendencies associated with it today, I want to acknowledge that not all of the media is selling us complete lies. The degree varies across different media outlets. And while there is also a danger that in times of quote-unquote seemingly possible free speech, there can also be danger of spreading out fake news and lies. We have to also look at the other end of the spectrum, which is increasing censorship and limiting people's abilities to think, express themselves freely. And I want to cover more this second end spectrum of increasing censorship that is being observed in past couple of years. If you see things quite differently out of the offered mainstream narratives, then you can start to be seen today as dangerous, as extremist even, as conspiracy fan in specific areas or situations. You are being given and assigned negative labels used to discredit your position and present you as inadequate, uninformed, uneducated, irrational person, and etc. Basically, media is trying to portray you as someone who don't know what's good for yourself and others. So you're a threat to society. And politicians and media are given the platform to present themselves as real experts about your own life. And these experts can even try to attack your own values and try to make you question your own values. And you're almost like a black sheep, an enemy to the rest crowd. And this rest crowd is obedient consumer army. You, as black sheep, are enemy to certain ideology, certain political setting and establishment. If perception exists only at the level of conceptual thinking, and there is no intuition or deeper awareness that resides in each of us, then it becomes very easy to fool such people. Because reality is being perceived only through concepts, and concepts are man-made. Concepts are also being reported in the so-called news, research, etc. And all of these things operate using language and words that can be adjusted in order to manipulate, to program, to condition minds of people. Getting conditioned with certain concepts. And conditioning usually happens in a needed way in order to get a desired outcome, a predictable human behavior. It's like people's minds have been invaded with certain political discourse, narratives, agenda, and even new values. People have been taught or conditioned to analyze and think critically. But the paradox is that a lot of those intelligent people are not able to see distorted, reported reality, and that the external sources they depend on receiving information are quite inaccurate in reporting the real situation that's happening. And conditioned thinking or analysis is like a very narrow and limited frame, almost like hypnosis, not to see lies, not to see hypocrisy. And other perception channels of these people are blocked. And it puts them to sleep and alienate themselves from their own true essence and their independence. And some of the people even think that they came to their conclusions themselves and they made their choice themselves that it was not impacted in any way by other external sources. They think that they are independent thinkers, when in actuality they are not. Reported world or external information sources, especially media outlets, mainstream media outlets, have become very unreliable source of information, truth, and instead are presenting a very distorted reality, far from what's happening in real life. The conditioning is often so strong that it's hard to overcome it, and it has naturally become part of people's identity. And one of the ways how people get conditioned is also through education. An educational system as institutionalized tool is used to create, of course, people that would not cause problems in future scenarios of power grab and other agendas. Kind of like what some jerks are trying to achieve right now. And people's minds are being prepared so they can be easily accessed to specific needed agenda as political support and consent. As I mentioned before, a conditioning can become a very strong part of our identity. And if identity is involved in this process of perception, then that's a whole new level. Because if your perspective is different and it challenges other people's opinions, perspectives, views that are forming their identity, and their views they are so attached to their own views, then they can start to attack you because they see you as threat. And your different stance triggers and provokes them to defend their perceived identity. They are triggered because it's part of their defense mechanism, created to keep themselves distracted from truth and keep living in illusions, so that they wouldn't have to address the real thing. And it's quite shocking. It would be quite shocking, and many would not be ready to face the real thing, unfortunately. And it's more comfortable to stay in sleep mode throughout even entire life. And that is opposite of grounding. A lot of people, including the ones who have developed awareness, have had unprocessed traumas that have caused them to live in perpetual cycles of self-distraction, self-denial, and also suppression of what's really happening inside them. All the uncomfortable feelings, beliefs, thought patterns that they try to avoid at all costs. And these traumatized people often become good practitioners of living in deception, living in fake narratives, and focusing on others, the external focus, instead of addressing their own inner world and life, their situations and challenges and problems. And this is a game of disempowered and victimized society. A game from which we can consciously step out anytime if there is awareness and readiness. So, if you don't want to keep living in a society model where you're being controlled and manipulated by others, then a big decision is in front of you, if you haven't already decided. And we as individuals have to make a decision if we want to continue live the old way with certain rules of others, or we step out of this game as much as possible in given circumstances, and also acknowledging the potential consequences of us stepping out, what it can potentially cause and what will it require from us. We can decide to stop playing by certain rules that are not serving us. And we can set certain boundaries in our life. We can hold principles dear to us, and we can follow our most important values and not betray them. It's a hard choice for many, but after that, the life gets easier. Easier how? Well, easier in terms of it becomes more clear how you go about your own life without inner conflict inside of you. Those who live reversely by easy choice, hard life, they have sold their soul, and deep down they're still suffering tremendously. They have made a choice to stay in a comfortable circumstances, an illusory sense of safety and stability in times of great uncertainty. For them, it's safer not to see all the bullshit and to pretend it's not there. It's all fine. Like in the story of the famous emperor's new clothes, where people were told that only the smart and adequate ones can see the emperor's invisible clothes, while the emperor being completely naked. And crowd did not want to feel stupid, so they pretended that he had awesome clothes. Well, people pretend also in repressive regimes not to get in trouble. And their personal space is being invaded more and more, giving instructions how to live obediently, how to do the so-called citizen duty by performing certain steps, demonstrating certain attitudes and choices, and to support. Realize your own worthiness. step out of this disempowerment game, if you haven't already, and take responsibility for your own life instead of giving it away to other external sources such as government, media, other organizations and institutions and people that frankly you don't even know. Next video will expand even more on this one, not only to be careful about the reported world, but also to go even one step further that will give you even more creative ability in your life. So be sure to check out my next video, and thank you for watching. Stay strong.